It's the final challenge of HR month, so thank you so much to Kelly for these challenges. It's been really fun to work with this data across the entire month and see how um, these real life scenarios take place. Thanks to Charlie for validating this workflow too. So let's have a look. So this data set is quite familiar to us now. We're looking at the distribution centres each month, and we're going to identify where an employee transfers. So if I find an example, this is one I already know. I'm not just being lucky. So if I look at this employee in particular, whoops, let me go back to that. My apologies, 399. There we go. I'll just make that a little bit taller there. There we go. Then we can see that they start off at distribution center number 2, and then they transfer to number 5. And because that takes place with only a month's difference in between, then that means that it's okay. We're allowing that employee to be classed as a transfer rather than if they kind of left that distribution center and then got a new job in a new city like a year later, for example. That wouldn't be classed as a transfer. So how do we code that up? So we'll use some lookup functions again for this challenge. So we're grouping by the employee ID, so partition employee ID. We're ordering by the month end date in ascending order, and we're looking up the distribution center from the next row. So that'll allow us to be able to compare, is the distribution center in the next row different from the one in our current row? And then for our next month, we're doing exactly the same kind of calculation, but this time we're looking up the month that is in the next row so that we can tell if it is 1 month difference, 2 months difference, 3 months difference, so on and so forth. And then we just write that calculation. So if our distribution centers aren't equal between the current row and the next row, and if we do a date diff at the month level between the month end date and the next month, and that's less than or equal to 2, then we know that's a transfer that has taken place. So we have that there. And these are all of our employees who have had a transfer and yeah, we have that information there, which is great. Now we're looking to be able to calculate all those metrics that Kelly lists. One of them is that we want to know the average tenure when an employee transfers. So if that transfer flag is equal to 1, then give us the tenure months. So that'll mean that we have nulls for most of that field, but we will have the few values here if they have transferred what was their tenure. So you can see that for some, their very first month of working there, they transfer somewhere else. Maybe that's something they want to put a process in to stop. Maybe they only want to allow it after a certain number of months. We don't know how this information is going to be gone on and used in the future. Then we're calculating those metrics at the distribution center level. So we're grouping by the distribution center, we're counting the distinct employee IDs, we're summing up the transfer flags. So that's going to be adding it up. All those times that we had a transfer was a 1, so we can just sum those nice and simply. And then we're doing the average tenure transfer. You might have called it something different when you did that. Don't worry, that was one where I made up the name for that one. And we also want this at the overall level, so not just at the distribution center level. So we basically have another aggregate step which is exactly the same, except for the fact that we don't have the distribution center in this second one at the total level. And then we just create a field in this branch that is called distribution number, so DC underscore NBR, and we just have the word total in there instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And we union those two branches back together. So we've got these 7 rows, one for each distribution center and one for the total. We do a bit of renaming our fields, so that employee ID gets renamed to E count, the transfer flag gets renamed to transfer count, the tenure transfer gets renamed to average tenure months, and our average tenure months also gets rounded at this stage. So just a simple rounding to 2 decimal places because it was quite long before that. Now we're ready to calculate our transfer percent. So we're just doing our transfer count divided by our E count, and we're timesing that by 100 and dividing it by we're timesing it by 100 and we're rounding it, to 2 decimal places. So we have that as a percentage to 2 decimal places. And then I've just done in Tableau Prep a little cheeky rank on the distribution number in ascending order, just so that it gets into this order for output, but that is not a necessary step at all. It's just that Tableau Prep also often likes to change the row order in our workflows, and that's okay because usually the data is usually flowing straight into Tableau desktop, where the row order doesn't matter, but just for visual purposes I ordered it myself and then hid the field. So there we go, that is HR month completed. Thank you very much to Kelly, and thank you very much to you for watching.